Good morning, Cancer. Welcome to my channel. This reading is for Cancer, Sun, Moon, and Rising. I hope you're doing well, staying safe, and having a wonderful day. Let's see what the cards have to say. Something is sitting in the pit of your stomach right now, and you have been trying to call it anxiety, trying to call it stress, trying to give it any name other than the one it actually belongs to. What you are feeling is not anxiety, it is premonition. Your body is registering a vibration that your conscious mind has not decoded yet, a frequency that carries the unmistakable signature of something massive approaching the shores of your life. You feel it the way animals feel an earthquake before the ground begins to shake, a cellular awareness that has nothing to do with logic and everything to do with the ancient primal intelligence that lives in your bones. Something is coming on Friday, and the tears it brings are going to be unlike any tears you have cried before. I need to be very clear with you about the nature of these tears because the word cry in the context of this message is going to trigger your defenses. You have cried enough. You have cried in the shower where no one could hear you. You have cried in your car in parking lots, gripping the steering wheel and letting the sobs come because there was nowhere else safe enough to fall apart. You have cried the quiet, invisible tears that slip out sideways during conversations when someone accidentally says something that brushes against the wound you have been trying to pretend is healed. You are exhausted from crying. The idea that more tears are coming probably feels like a punishment, like the universe has looked at everything you have already endured and decided it was not enough. But that is not what is happening here. That is not what Friday holds. The tears that are coming are the kind that arrive when something you stopped believing would ever happen finally happens. The kind that come when justice, real justice, not the cold, institutional kind that happens in courtrooms, but the warm, personal, divinely orchestrated kind that happens when the universe finally shows you that it was paying attention all along. That kind of justice arrives at your doorstep and looks you in the eye and says, I saw everything. I saw what they did. I saw what you endured. I saw how you kept going when anyone else would have stopped. And now I am going to show you that none of it was invisible. That is what karma is. At its deepest and most sacred level, it is not revenge. It is not punishment. It is not the satisfying spectacle of watching someone who hurt you receive their comeuppance while you sit in the audience eating popcorn. That version of karma, the Hollywood version, the meme version, the one that gets reduced to bumper stickers and social media posts, that version misses the point entirely. Real karma is the restoration of balance. It is the universe's way of correcting a distortion in the energy field, of taking something that was bent out of shape by cruelty or dishonesty or betrayal, and slowly, patiently, with the precision of a master craftsman, bending it back until the original form is restored, and what is being restored on Friday is you. Not your circumstances, although those may shift as well, but you, the shape of you, the truth of you, the part of you that was bent and compressed and diminished by what someone else did, that part is being straightened. And the sensation of being straightened after being bent for so long is what is going to make you cry. Let me tell you what I see happening, and I want you to listen with your whole body, not just your ears, because some of what I am about to describe is going to resonate so specifically with your situation that you may feel a physical reaction, a tightening in your throat, a heat behind your eyes, a sudden pressure in your chest. Let those sensations come. Do not fight them. They are the confirmation that what is being spoken is landing exactly where it needs to land. There is a situation in your life where you were wronged, And I am not using that word lightly or generally. I mean specifically, concretely, undeniably wronged. Something was done to you that was unfair. Something was taken from you that you did not freely give. Something was said about you that was not true, or something true about you was deliberately hidden or distorted to serve someone else's narrative. You know exactly what I am talking about. You have been carrying the weight of this injustice for longer than anyone should have to carry anything, and the heaviest part of it has not been the wrongdoing itself. The heaviest part has been the silence, the feeling that no one saw, that no one cared, that the person who hurt you walked away without consequence while you were left holding the wreckage of what they destroyed, trying to rebuild something from pieces that no longer fit together the way they did before. That silence is about to be shattered. Not by you, not by any action you take or any confrontation you initiate, but by the natural, inevitable, mathematically precise operation of a universe that never loses track of its debts. What was done to you created an imbalance, and that imbalance has been quietly, invisibly, relentlessly working its way toward correction since the moment it was created. You could not see it working. You could not feel it moving. There were times when you looked at the person who hurt you and saw them thriving, saw them smiling, saw them living what appeared to be a perfectly comfortable life, unburdened by the weight of what they had done, and you felt something inside you crack, because it seemed like proof that the universe did not care, that karma was a fairy tale, that people really could hurt you, walk away, and face no consequences whatsoever while you sat in the debris of their choices trying to remember what it felt like to be whole. But what you were seeing was the surface. And the surface of a person's life is the least reliable indicator of what is actually happening within them. Beneath the smile, beneath the apparent thriving, beneath the performance of an unbothered existence, something has been eroding, slowly, steadily. The way water erodes stone, not with force, but with persistence. Not with a single dramatic blow, but with the patient, unrelenting repetition of a truth that refuses to be ignored. The truth that what they did was wrong. The truth that what they took from you was not theirs to take. The truth that the person they have been pretending to be since they walked away from the damage they caused is a fiction, a costume, a mask that fits less comfortably with each passing day. They have been losing sleep. Not the kind of sleeplessness that announces itself loudly and garners sympathy from friends and family. The kind that lives in the margins. The kind where they fall asleep fine but wake at 3 a.m. with a heaviness on their chest that has no name. A formless guilt that they cannot trace to any single action, because tracing it would mean admitting what they did, and admission is the one thing their ego has been fighting with every resource at its disposal. They lie in the dark during those hours, and something in them knows. Something beneath the rationalizations and the justifications and the carefully rehearsed version of events where they are the protagonist rather than the antagonist, something deep and unmanageable knows that they owe a debt, and that debt is about to be called in. And on Friday, something is going to happen that pulls that mask off. I do not know the exact form it will take for each person listening to this, because the specifics of karma are as unique as the situations that created the debt. But what I know with absolute certainty is that a truth that has been hidden is going to be revealed. Something that this person has been concealing, whether it is a lie they told, a deception they maintained, a false narrative they constructed to make themselves look like the victim rather than the cause. That concealment is going to crack open. And when it does, the people who believed their version of events are going to see them differently. The reputation they carefully curated is going to develop a fracture that no amount of charm or manipulation can repair. The image they projected is going to stop matching the reality, and the gap between who they pretended to be and who they actually are is going to become visible to the very people whose opinion they valued most. Now, I want to pause here and say something that might be difficult to hear, but that I believe is essential for your spiritual well-being. The karma that is arriving on Friday is not something you should celebrate with cruelty. I know there is a part of you, a hurt, raw, justifiably angry part, that wants to watch this person suffer the way you suffered, that wants to see them brought low, that wants to stand over the wreckage of their carefully constructed facade and say, now you know how it feels. That part of you is valid. That anger is legitimate. It was born from real pain, and it has been your protector during the seasons when you needed protection more than you needed peace. But if you let that part of you drive your response to what unfolds on Friday, you will miss the real gift that karma is offering. Because the gift is not their downfall. The gift is your freedom. There is a profound, life-altering difference between those two things. And the difference matters more than you might realize in this moment. Their downfall is about them. Your freedom is about you. And what Friday is bringing is an invitation to finally, completely, irrevocably release the weight you have been carrying on behalf of a situation that was never yours to resolve. You did not create the imbalance. You were not responsible for correcting it. And the universe is showing you on Friday that it never needed your help to set things right. It was handling it all along, in its own time, in its own way, with a thoroughness and a precision that your human timeline could not accommodate, but that the divine timeline always had planned. Let me go deeper into what has been happening inside you. Because the karma that is arriving is not just about the other person. It is about you in equal measure, and the internal dimension of what is unfolding is where the real transformation lives. You have been stuck, not in the obvious, visible, everything has ground to a halt kind of stuck, but in the deeper, more insidious kind where your life is moving forward, but your spirit is anchored to a moment in the past. You have been dragging that anchor behind you through every new experience, every new relationship, every new attempt to build something fresh and good, and the weight of it has been slowing you down in ways you are only beginning to recognize. That anchor is the unresolved injustice. It is the question you have been carrying that has no answer, the why that echoes in the hollow places of your heart during the quiet hours. Why did they do it? Why did they choose to hurt you when you had only ever shown them kindness? Why did they take what you offered in good faith and twist it into something ugly? Why did they walk away as though the destruction they left behind was invisible? As though you were invisible, as though the pain they caused was not real enough to warrant acknowledgement, let alone accountability. And beneath all those questions is an even deeper one that you rarely voice even to yourself because it feels too vulnerable, too raw, too dangerously close to the core wound. The question is, does what happened to me mean that I am someone things happen to? Is this my pattern? Is this my fate? Am I the kind of person who gives and gives and gives only to be depleted, discarded, and left wondering what I did wrong? That question, the identity question, is the heaviest thing you have been carrying because it is not really about them at all. It is about you. It is about whether the injustice you experienced is an anomaly or an archetype, a single terrible event, or a prophecy of how the rest of your life will unfold? Friday is going to answer that question, and the answer is going to shatter the narrative of inevitability that has been quietly forming in the back of your mind, because when you see karma move, when you witness the tangible, undeniable evidence that the universe does not allow imbalance to persist indefinitely, something inside you will release the belief that you are destined to be hurt without recourse. That belief has been the real prison, far more than the original wound, and its dissolution is the true gift that Friday carries. Those questions have been your anchor, and on Friday something is going to happen that begins to answer them. Not with the clean, satisfying clarity of a confession or an apology, although for some of you that may be part of what unfolds, but with the deeper, more profound clarity of seeing the natural consequences of someone's choices catch up with them in real time. That seeing, that witnessing, is what will begin to loosen the chain that has been holding your anchor in place. I want to talk about what freedom is going to feel like for you, because I think you have been carrying this weight for so long that you have forgotten what it feels like to walk without it. Freedom is not going to feel like happiness, at least not immediately. It is going to feel like space. Like a room in your chest that has been occupied by someone else's wrongdoing is suddenly, shockingly empty. And that emptiness might feel disorienting at first, because you have become so accustomed to the weight that its absence feels wrong. The way a person who has been wearing a heavy coat for years feels strangely exposed when they finally take it off. You might not know what to do with yourself. You might reach for the familiar ache out of habit, the way your tongue keeps probing the space where a tooth used to be. But the ache will not be there, not in the same way, not with the same intensity. Something will have shifted at the structural level of your emotional being, and the shift will be permanent. And in the space where the weight used to live, something new is going to begin to grow. Not immediately, not overnight, but in the days following Friday, you are going to notice the first green shoots of something you have not felt in a very long time. Possibility. The quiet, tentative, almost shy emergence of the feeling that your life is not defined by what was done to you, that your story is not a tragedy but an arc that is bending, slowly and surely, towards something that looks a lot like justice and feels a lot like peace. Possibility is a fragile thing when it first appears, especially in soil that has been hardened by betrayal and neglect. But it is also tenacious. Once it takes root, once it finds even the smallest crack of light and warmth, it grows with a stubbornness that mirrors your own, the same stubbornness that kept you alive and kept you hoping through the darkest stretch of this entire ordeal. That permanence is important. This is not a temporary relief, not a brief respite from the weight that will come crashing back down the moment the euphoria of vindication fades. What Friday initiates is a genuine, irreversible release, the kind that changes the way you breathe, the kind that changes the way you hold your shoulders, the kind that changes the expression your face settles into when no one is watching, from the quiet tension of someone carrying an unspoken burden to the soft openness of someone who has finally set it down. There's something else I need to speak into, and it has to do with the timing of all this. You have been asking, why now? Why has it taken this long? Why could the universe not have corrected this imbalance sooner, when the wound was fresh and the injustice was raw and the vindication would have saved you months or years of questioning yourself? That is a fair question, and it deserves an honest answer. The timing is not about the other person's readiness to face consequences. It is about your readiness to be free. And I know that might sound counterintuitive, but stay with me. If this karmic correction had arrived when the wound was still fresh, you would not have been free. You would have been further entangled. Your healing would have become dependent on their downfall. Your peace would have become contingent on their suffering. And the energetic cord between you and this person would have been strengthened rather than severed. You would have been bound to them by the satisfaction of watching them fall. And that binding would have been just as imprisoning as the original wound, just wearing a different mask. There is a version of you from that earlier time who would have received this karmic correction and immediately weaponized it, not out of malice, but out of the rawness of the pain. That version of you would have used the validation as fuel for anger rather than freedom, would have broadcast the vindication to anyone who would listen, would have built an identity around being proven right rather than simply being released. And that identity would have become its own kind of trap, keeping you tethered to the very person and the very situation you needed to move beyond. The universe, in its infinite and sometimes infuriating wisdom, waited until you were capable of receiving justice without being consumed by it. The timing is now because you have reached that point in your own evolution. You have done enough of your own healing, enough of your own growth, enough of your own quiet, unglamorous, day-by-day work of putting yourself back together, that the arrival of external validation is no longer the thing you need to survive. It is the cherry on top of a healing that is already well underway. It is confirmation, not salvation. And that distinction, the distinction between needing karma to heal you and receiving karma as confirmation that healing is already happening, that is the distinction that makes this Friday different from every scenario you imagined during the worst of your pain. I want to tell you about a specific energy I am picking up that is connected to someone close to you, not the person who wronged you, but someone in your inner circle who is about to play an unexpected role in what unfolds. This person has been watching. They have seen more than you realize. They have noticed things about the situation that you thought were invisible, details about the other person's behavior, inconsistencies in their story, moments where the mask slipped and something ugly flickered across their face before they could compose themselves. And this person has been holding on to what they have seen, waiting, perhaps without fully understanding why they were waiting for the right moment to speak. They held back because they did not want to interfere. They held back because they were not sure you were ready to hear it. They held back because the situation was complicated and their own relationship with the person who hurt you made speaking up feel risky, like they would be forced to choose sides in a conflict they had tried to remain neutral in. But neutrality has a shelf life when one side of a conflict is built on a lie, and this person's ability to remain neutral has been eroding at the same rate as the other person's mask. They have been carrying an increasing discomfort with their own silence, a growing awareness that their inaction, however well-intentioned, has been a passive form of complicity. And that awareness has reached the tipping point. Friday is that moment. Something is going to prompt this person to share what they know, what they have observed, what they have been carrying as a quiet witness to an injustice that you thought no one else had noticed. And when they speak, their words are going to land in your heart like rain on parched earth, not because they tell you anything you did not already know in your bones, but because hearing your own truth reflected back to you through someone else's eyes, hearing another human being say, I saw it too, that is a healing that nothing else can provide. It is the end of the particular loneliness that comes from experiencing something painful and feeling like you experienced it alone. You did not experience it alone. Someone was watching, someone cared. And on Friday, they are going to show you that your suffering was never as invisible as you feared. Let me speak now to the dreams you have been having, because they are connected to everything I have been describing, and they deserve to be acknowledged. Your subconscious has been processing what is coming before your waking mind caught up. You have been having dreams with unusual emotional texture, dreams that leave you waking with tears on your face or with a feeling of profound release that lingers through the morning like perfume. Some of you have been dreaming about water, about storms that pass and leave everything clean, about standing in rain that feels warm rather than cold. Some of you have been dreaming about specific people, seeing their faces in dream scenarios that feel more like visions than random neural activity. These dreams are your spirit rehearsing what is about to unfold. They are dress rehearsals for the emotional experience of Friday, your deeper self practicing the release so that when the moment arrives in waking life, your system can handle the magnitude of what it is going to feel. There is something I want to say about the version of you that existed before this injustice occurred, because I sense that you have been mourning that person without realizing it. You miss who you were before the trust was broken, before the innocence was taken, before the betrayal rewired your nervous system to expect the worst from the people who get closest to you. You miss the version of yourself that could love without scanning for threats, that could trust without building escape routes, that could exist in a relationship or a friendship or a family dynamic without the constant, exhausting background process of self-protection running in your mind like an app you cannot close. You miss that openness. You grieve it. And part of the grief you carry that no one else fully understands is not just grief for what was done to you, but grief for the person you were before it was done. The person you can never fully return to because knowledge, once gained, cannot be ungained. And the knowledge of what people are capable of doing to you is the kind that changes you permanently. But here is the revelation that Friday is carrying, and this is the part that is going to make you cry. In the way I described at the beginning, the person you were before is not gone. They are not dead. They are not irretrievably lost to the past. They have been in hiding. They retreated to the deepest, most protected chamber of your being when the betrayal happened. The way a child retreats to a safe room during a storm, and they have been waiting there, intact, preserved, still carrying all the openness and trust and unguarded love that you thought was destroyed. It was not destroyed. It was sheltered. And what is happening on Friday, the karmic correction, the external validation, the revelation of truth, these events are going to reach that hidden chamber and open the door. Not all the way, not immediately, but enough for that sheltered part of you to see that the storm has passed, that it is safe to come out, that the world you are living in now, while not perfectly safe, is safer than it was. And the reunion between who you are now and who you were before is going to be one of the most profoundly emotional experiences of your entire life. That is why the tears are coming. Not because something bad is happening, but because something that was broken is being restored. And restoration, true restoration, the kind that reaches all the way back to the original wound and begins to heal it from the inside out, That kind of restoration is overwhelming. It is the good kind of overwhelming, the kind that your body does not know how to process except through tears. Because tears are the body's way of releasing what is too large to be contained, too sacred to be spoken, too important to be held inside without expression. Here on Mary's Angel Tarot, the messages that come through with this level of emotional intensity are always pointing toward moments of genuine transformation. Not the surface level kind that looks good on paper, but does not actually change anything in the architecture of your daily life. The deep kind, the structural kind. The kind that rearranges the foundation of who you are and how you move through the world in ways that affect everything. Your relationships, your self-image, your capacity for joy, your willingness to risk, your ability to receive love without the reflexive flinch of someone who has been conditioned to expect pain. Friday is going to initiate that kind of transformation. And I want you to approach it not with dread, not with the bracing posture that has become your default when something significant approaches, but with the quiet readiness of someone who knows in their deepest place that what is coming is ultimately, fundamentally, irreversibly good, even if it is messy, even if it involves tears. Even if the process of watching karma correct an imbalance is uncomfortable in ways you did not anticipate, the discomfort is temporary, the freedom is permanent. And the tears, those tears that might feel scary from this side of the experience, are going to be the most cleansing, the most releasing, the most sacred tears you have ever cried. You have earned this. Not through suffering, because suffering does not earn anything. It is not currency, and it should never be treated as such. You have earned this through endurance. Through the quiet, daily, unglamorous act of choosing to remain a good person in the aftermath of being treated badly. Through refusing to let what was done to you turn you into a version of the person who did it. Through every moment where you could have chosen bitterness and chose compassion instead, where you could have chosen revenge and chose grace, where you could have chosen to spread the poison that was poured into you and instead chose to absorb it, process it, and transmute it into something that did not harm anyone else. That choice repeated over and over, day after day, in moments that no one else witnessed and no one else will ever fully appreciate, that is what you have earned this through. Not payment for pain, but recognition of character. The universe recognizing that you handled the worst with a dignity that deserves to be rewarded, and Friday is the beginning of that reward. So let the tears come when they arrive. Do not fight them. Do not apologize for them. Do not retreat to a private place and cry in silence the way you have trained yourself to do. Let them come freely, openly, with the full permission of a heart that has been holding itself together for so long that the act of falling apart is itself a form of healing. Let your body shake with the release. Let your throat open and let the sounds come out, the ugly, honest, primal sounds of a human being who is finally allowing themselves to feel the full weight of everything they have been carrying. In the same breath, feeling that weight begin to lift. You are going to be okay, more than okay. You are going to be free. And the freedom that is coming is not the absence of memory, not the erasure of what happened, not the pretense that the wound was never real. It is something far more powerful than forgetting. It is the experience of remembering without bleeding, of looking back at what was done to you and feeling, for the first time, something other than pain, feeling instead a profound, quiet, unshakable knowing that you survived it, that it did not define you, that the person who tried to break you succeeded only in revealing a strength inside you that neither of you knew existed until it was tested. And that strength, now fully revealed, now fully acknowledged, now fully integrated into who you are, is the foundation on which everything beautiful in your future is going to be built. Friday is the beginning, not the end. The beginning of a chapter you have been waiting for without knowing you were waiting. A chapter where the tears are different, where the weight is lighter, where the air tastes cleaner, and where the person looking back at you from the mirror is someone you recognize again, someone you are proud of, someone who walked through fire and came out not unburned, but unbroken, and unbowed, and finally beautifully, irreversibly free. All right, thank you so much for watching Mary's Angel Tarot. Take care of your energy, and I'll see you in the next reading. Bye.